The North Norfolk Railway is one of Britain's most scenic heritage lines, and after visiting it recently, I had an idea. Could I rebuild this inside OpenTTD? Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to my attempt at recreating this beautiful heritage railway inside the fantastic free transport game OpenTTD. Now, I've never tried building a real-world railway in OpenTTD before, so this is a bit of an experiment, and I'm curious to see if I can bring the North Norfolk Railway to life in this classic retro game. Well, first up, we're going to have to set our world up, ready for our tracks, towns, and all the other bits and bobs. For that, we're going to do a scenario. Now, we are doing a very small bit of world, so I think we should really go with something along the lines of maybe 64 by 128? Let's have a look. I'm not sure that gives us enough room to work with. Let's go 128, 128. There we go. So this is North Norfolk, and that means that we need to get some water in on the north coast. Now, this isn't technically north in the game of OpenTTD, but I've decided for the purposes of what I'm building today, it is north. There we go. I think that'll do for the coastline. The coastline in that part of the country is quite flat, quite straight when you're at this scale. Next up, we need to put the towns in. Right, here we go. Town generator. Now, Sheringham's quite a big place, and it's right on the coast over here. So let's go with a large town, and we will do a new town, and we will put it relatively close to the front. Ooh, I think that's going to be a little bit small for Sheringham. So let's just expand the town a little bit. Okay. Now we need to be able to have the railway come in. So we need to make a hole in there. Now just a note, I've got transparency turned on so we can hide the buildings and see what we're doing. But I think what we'll do is we'll worry about the railway later. Now this place, you might have noticed, is not called Sheringham. It's called Dringway. Well, let's rename that. Okay, there we go, Sheringham. Now, in relation to Sheringham, the way that the railway comes out is roughly like this. Goes on for a bit, and then it goes left and then right in sort of an S-bend style. Then we get to a place around here. This is the Weybourne station. Now, the challenge for us here is that there isn't actually a town right at where the station is. Down the road is where the station is. Now, for the purposes of OpenTTD, we'll probably need some houses there just so it counts as a city or town. Maybe we can do something about that. Then, after it comes out, it does a long sweeping turn down to Holt. So let's get those towns in. There we go. We got Holt in there. Right, it's not named Holt yet. And then Weybourne. I think I'm going to use a little bit of artistic license and move the actual town of Weybourne closer to the station. So let's get in another town out round S to about there. Okay. Let's get them renamed. Now, it is worth noting that just past Weybourne, there is actually technically another stop. There is a little tiny weeny station at Kelling Heath, but there's actually no town there at all. There's a holiday park nearby, but that's about it. And actually, you have to ask the train to be stopped at that station. So for the purposes of this scenario, we're going to stick with the three main places that the train actually stops at. Now, while there are some minor settlements in the area, there's no major ones, so I'm going to add no other towns onto this map. You can see that the game has already added a few trees dotted around. That's fine, but there's some kind of more wooded areas that I'd like to mark. South of Sheringham, this is more of a foresty area, and there's a bit more over here as well. And then there's a bunch of forest around here and here, and a bit more around here as well. This is a very scenic railway line. Absolutely stunning views all along the way of both the land, the countryside, and of course the sea as well. Now, I want to get some of the wind turbines in, but they're not in the base game. Let me see if I can find them. Ooh, okay, so they are in here, but it looks like they're greyed out. Presumably they're only available past a certain date. Well, you know what? Let's put the rough date that I went in. Year 2025. Okay, look, we can now have some wind turbines. Can I place them directly on water? No, I cannot. Okay, so we're going to have to put some little juts of land. There's a few groups of wind farms out there, so I will do a cluster over here. Yes, and then I'll do another cluster right at the back here. Let's get these on these little hill platform things. Now, I can't actually have them just sticking out of the water. That'd be quite nice, but it's just not possible, unfortunately. So there we go. We have the wind turbines in the background. So I think that's the scenario done. We need to actually move on to the game. Okay, and now we've loaded this as an actual game, the turbines are spinning, so that's nice. Right then, let's have a look at what the situation is. Now, because I'm just making a scenario, I'm not playing a game of OpenTTD, I'm going to use the sandbox options to increase the amount of money that I have by 10 million. And I'm also going to use the magic bulldozer, which allows me to just delete everything I could possibly want to. Let's start by adding the stations. Now, Holt has a couple of major roads on this side of the town. One of them up here, and another one that runs south-ish, but then comes up into the town. And that is roughly where the railway station is, just outside of the town. So let's just connect them up like that, and then we put the station in. Now, this station at Holt has a number of different bits of track that connect it up in different ways. Now, there's a kind of a terminus, the bit that goes on the end where the train comes in and the engine can stop and swap round, and then there's a couple of platforms. I'm going to add the British station set. That's going to allow us some more different options when we're building our stations. Now, let's have slopey platforms. There we go. And we will just, for now, do some blank platforms along here. There we go. Now, there wasn't platform in the middle. I don't know if I have an option. No, it's not possible for me to remove the platform in the middle of these platforms. Let's also add the industry stations renewal set. That might give us some extra options that we can use. Okay, so we've got stations down here and different fixtures. Now, let's finish this track off. There we go. Now this section here does extend back a good extra little bit, so I'll just do that. And also just before it, there is a little kind of switch which allows trains to go into some little extra sidings. So this line we're going to bring out here, which is fine. Little extra bit over here. And then there's a little bit of track there as well where they can store trains and stuff. We can do station buildings and get the signals and tracks in. We might need to make some adjustments later. But now this is a single track line that goes all the way to the Weybourne station. Now at the Weybourne station, there is actually a bridge that goes straight over the track right in front of the station. So let's use this road here and pop a bridge in. Let's see. I think this sort of bridge... Oh, hang on, that's not a road bridge. There we go. This sort of bridge will do the job for that. Now, the track. So going under the bridge, we have two pieces of track. These two pieces of track come into a station. Now, the Weybourne station in real life is actually slightly bendy, but that's not possible in OpenTTD, so I'm going to have to ignore it. Also, there is a bunch of sidings for the Weybourne station, which these townhouses here are in the way of, so I'm just going to get rid of them. Because I can't do nice sweeping curves in OpenTTD, we're going to have to do a bit of a diagonal, just a big diagonal. So let's go to about here, a nice big diagonal, and that can represent our big long left-hand turn. Now, I was able to find a box diagram for this particular station, which is actually quite handy. So let's now interpret that. Now, I don't have the rights to show you it, but the idea is that there's a bit of track that comes out here. There is a cross here that allows trains to switch. And then just after that, there is a switch that comes out into the siding that goes just behind the platform here. Now, I haven't got any signals yet, and I want to get this working. We haven't decorated the depot areas, but we'll get there. Now, when it comes to Sheringham, the Heritage Railway comes in one side, and the main line railway is on the other of a road, which is kind of connected, but also kind of not. They go across the level crossing on special days. But we need to cut into Sheringham and allow our Heritage Railway. So it's going to be quite difficult. Let's go transparency mode to see what we can see. And then we need to choose one of these 3 roads as our main road. And I'm thinking, let's go with this one in the middle. We might need to do some adjustments. First of all, we need a piece of track in front of the road. This is the track that the train comes down to be able to turn around. Checking my video footage, the diversion goes a bit like this, and then we go into the main station. Now there is a bit more track that comes down the back behind the station as well, but only part way. And then this area here is a bit of open land / entrance to a car park, so we can add that too. There's a road that runs parallel to the station, so we can just modify what we've got here. And this is quite accurate actually, because there is a road that goes down to the seafront just there as well. Now technically there is actually a level crossing here, even though it's not really used. And then on the other side, which there were actually cars parked on this piece of track, it then goes into the line which goes out for the main railway on the National Rail. Now, taking a good look at Google Maps, there is also another line that kind of comes like this and ends up stopping here for some sort of extra storage or diagonal. Now, there is another bridge that comes across the end of all of this, but we'll do that in a second. And then there's a whole bunch of switches as a dual line then goes out, down, and then turns into a single line. So might need to do a bit of a shorter diagonal. Yeah, we might need to move that over just a touch. And then this one, we'll do a little bit of a bigger diagonal. There we go. Right. We've got the main bit of track in. Now we need to finish this off down here. And this middle track splits into like a Y. It's like this. Now, obviously it's not to scale, but this is a retro transport game and not a simulator, so I think that might be the best I can do. Let's get that road bridge in. Let's change the type to something a little bit more suitable. Yes, I think that'll be about right. Okay, now the depots. We need depots to be able to get trains on this world. Now there are some depots not far from Holt. I'm not sure what they are, but I definitely saw them. I don't think I managed to get a picture of them, but I do wonder if it's where they store a loco or two. Okay, so it was just down about here. Okay, so let's do that. And one in there. There was 2 next to each other. Now, in addition to those 2, there did appear to be some extra ones in the Weybourne station. That is a train shed. Perfect. Okay. Now, looking at this, there is actually 2 train sheds next to each other, but the track doesn't seem to go all the way into it. So let's do a dual rail shed like that. And we'll add some extra buildings here for the station building, because there was a very nice station building there. Tell you what there was, though. There was a nice footbridge at the end. Okay, that's facing the wrong way, but, you know, there's not much I can do about that. No, there isn't. And on this side, there was a couple of other buildings too. I think it will do for that one. Now, down at Holt, we had a similar situation. We had a variety of different station buildings. So I will place a couple of buildings here like this. And there was also a few buildings towards the back. Yeah, that's relatively representative of what was going on. Now, when it comes to signals, I'm not going to try and represent the exact signals where they were all over the place. What I'm going to do is put signals down so that they work for the railway that I'm going to be building here, and the trains actually move on this line. Now, of course, I'm going to be using the semaphore signals and not the electric ones, because that's what was about on the line. Now, in OpenTTD, path signals are quite good, and we're only going to have a couple of trains running on this, so we actually only need a couple of signals down at this station in order to make this whole thing functional. This will allow them to actually get past each other in the same way that they did when we were riding on the trains. However, I do feel it might be nice to have a couple of exiting signals, so as long as it doesn't mess anything up, I'll pop a couple of extra ones in here. Now, by default in OpenTTD, trains expire throughout the years, and we need access to some of the older vehicles. So we need to change a game setting. We need to set it so the vehicles never expire. And because we've already started our game, that's not going to bring the old trains back. But with a quick command in the console, that is all good. We have our steam engines back. Now, the Norfolk Railway have a variety of different locomotives, and recently they've been running dual steam, but on the day we were there was one steam and one diesel. So I'm going to pick one that roughly represents what we had going. This one here looks like a good one. Let's get that. And we're going to need some carriages. Now, we're only going to be pulling passengers, so let's do that. And let's make the train length 3.5. Give it some orders. We're going to tell it to go down to Holt, Weybourne, and then Sheringham. And on the way back to Weybourne again. Now, this is not the only train. I did say there was more than one, and on normal days, they run 2 trains at the same time. So in the other depot, let's get the other one. The other one was a form of diesel. And looking at the ones available here, I'm going to go with the UU37. And we'll give it the orders exactly the same as train number 1. Now, let's start both of those trains and see how it goes. Okay, so the diesel train is coming into Holt. In reality, when the trains get to Holt, they disconnect the locomotives, use the turnaround at the bottom to go on the other track, and connect the vehicle to the other end of the carriages. Now, you can't do that in OpenTTD, there is no shunting in the game. Diesel train's coming into Weybourne, and that will head off to Sheringham very soon. Let's go back and see how the steam train's getting along. There we go. So the steam train has just left Holt, and this is where we're going to find out whether I need to remove some signals or add some signals to see if the trains are actually going to get past each other okay. Now, these trains are a pink colour because that's my company colour here, but we can change this. Let's go to colour scheme and change the colour to a dark green. That's kind of the average colour of both of these vehicles. Now, we might have a little problem here. Oh, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think the steam trains actually managed to find a valid path to Sheringham. Right, I have cleaned up the signals. Let's get this train going to Holt. And because these trains are going to break down, I'm going to go into the settings and just turn breakdowns off because there's no way for me to service them on this line. And there we go. I think we're pretty much sorted. The steam train has arrived nicely at Holt, and the diesel train is coming into Sheringham. This is pretty much how it works in the real life when they have the 2 trains running. And what they do is they cross over at Weybourne when they come in. So let's see that happen. So the steam train's in, picking up some passengers, and once it's ready to go, it will wait at the signal for the diesel to arrive. And just on time, here it is. Fantastic. And as the steam train carries on down the single track line, on its way to Sheringham, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you've got any thoughts, ideas, or any questions, pop them down in the comments section of this video. Maybe you have requests of ones I could look at in the future. What did you think to this video that was a little bit different for me? I kind of enjoyed it, I hope you did too. But that's going to be all from me for now. I think overall I've been quite successful. I have done what I have set out to do and recreated this line. It's not exactly one-to-one, but it definitely gives a very good representation of this particular heritage railway. So I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, take care, and for now, goodbye.